Commander Talia Reeve, this court finds you guilty of gross misconduct and insubordination. Judge Harold Beckett's declaration echoes through the military courtroom like a hammer strike on steel. Every head turns, every breath holds. The fluorescent lights overhead cast harsh white beams across rows of dress uniforms, press badges, and family members gripping armrests with white-knuckled hands. At the defendant's table, Commander Talia Reeve stands in her service whites, shoulders squared, hands clasped behind her back. The Medal of Honor rests against her chest, its gold star catching the light as her ribs expand with measured breaths. Beckett adjusts his reading glasses, fingers steady as he flips to the next page of his prepared statement. His robes hang perfectly pressed, his gray hair combed back in neat rows, his expression carved from granite. This is a man who has presided over hundreds of cases, sent dozens of officers to disciplinary boards, and never once lost a night of sleep over it. He lifts his gaze from the document and looks directly at Talia. "You are hereby ordered to surrender your Medal of Honor." The room erupts. Gasps ripple through the gallery. A reporter in the third row drops her pen. Two junior officers in the back exchange wide-eyed glances. At the prosecution table, Colonel Wade Mercer keeps his eyes fixed on the papers in front of him, jaw tight, refusing to look left where Talia stands. But Talia herself does not flinch. She does not blink. She does not allow even the smallest tremor to betray what might be happening behind those steady brown eyes. She reaches up with both hands, movements precise and controlled, and unclasps the medal from around her neck. The ribbon slides through her fingers like water. She steps forward, boots silent on the polished floor, and places the Medal of Honor on the judge's bench. The metal meets wood with a soft click that somehow feels louder than any shout. Golden light reflects off the star's surface, throwing a brief flare across Beckett's face before settling into stillness. Talia steps back, her hands return to their position behind her back. She does not wipe her eyes. She does not bite her lip. She simply stands there, posture military perfect, as if she has just completed a routine inspection rather than surrendered the highest honor her country can bestow. In the back row, near the exit, a man in a dark suit shifts his weight. Agent Grant Hale of the Federal Bureau of Investigation has been standing there for 20 minutes, arms crossed, face carefully neutral. Most people would not notice him. Most people are too focused on the drama unfolding at the front of the room. But Talia's eyes flick toward him for half a second. Hale's chin dips in the smallest possible nod. Blink, and you miss it. Beckett, busy gathering his papers, does not see. Mercer, staring at his hands, does not see. But in the second row of the gallery, Master Chief Leonard Donovan sees. At 63 years old, with 38 years of service behind him, Donovan has learned to notice the things other people overlook. He leans slightly forward, squinting at Talia's face, then at the agent by the door, then back at Talia. His weathered features crease in confusion. Something does not add up. A guilty officer, stripped of honor, should show rage or grief or desperation. Talia shows nothing. No, that is not quite right. She shows control. Absolute, unshakable control. Donovan has seen that look before, in soldiers waiting for an airstrike to hit enemy positions, in snipers counting seconds before a shot, in commanders holding formations steady while chaos explodes around them. It is the look of someone executing a plan. Beckett clears his throat, reclaiming the room's attention. The facts of this case are clear. On the night of March 7th, 2 years ago, Commander Reeve participated in Operation Iron Dagger, a joint special operations mission in Eastern Europe. Her orders were explicit: maintain radio silence, follow the extraction timeline, do not engage unless directly threatened. He pauses for effect, letting the weight settle. She violated every single directive. Her actions resulted in the deaths of 4 United States service members, 4 men who trusted her leadership and paid for her arrogance with their lives. Talia's expression does not change. She keeps her gaze level, focused on a point somewhere past Beckett's shoulder. But those who look closely, very closely, might notice the faint white scar running along the inside of her left wrist. The sleeve of her uniform does not quite cover it. When she shifts her weight, the fabric pulls back slightly, revealing a jagged line of healed tissue. Shrapnel, perhaps, or something worse. Donovan sees it. He has scars of his own, souvenirs from deployments in deserts and jungles and frozen mountain passes. He knows the signature of an improvised explosive device when he sees one. Commander Reeve's reckless disregard for protocol, Beckett continues, endangered the mission and the lives of everyone involved. Despite receiving this nation's highest honor for her so-called heroism that night, this court has determined that her actions constitute gross misconduct. She is a cautionary tale, ladies and gentlemen, a reminder that no amount of bravery can excuse insubordination. A cautionary tale. The phrase hangs in the air like smoke. Talia's fingers, still clasped behind her back, tighten almost imperceptibly. Her jaw shifts a fraction of an inch to the left, then returns to neutral. She breathes in through her nose, holds for 4 counts, exhales for 4 counts. Combat breathing, a technique taught to special operators to maintain calm under pressure. Donovan taught that same technique to hundreds of recruits over his career. He sits up straighter, eyes narrowing. Beckett gathers his papers and taps them against the bench to align the edges. This court is adjourned. Commander Reeve, you are dismissed from service effective immediately. Your security clearance is revoked. You will be escorted from the premises. He raises his gavel. Before he can bring it down, Talia speaks. Her tone is quiet but carries clearly across the silent courtroom. Permission to address the court, Your Honor. Beckett freezes, gavel suspended in midair, his eyes narrow. Commander, you have been found guilty. There is nothing left to address. I only need 30 seconds. Request denied. The gavel falls. The crack of wood against wood echoes like a gunshot. Talia does not move. She stands there, still as stone, while the room begins to empty. Journalists gather notebooks and cameras. Officers file toward the exits, some shaking their heads, others whispering behind raised hands. Families of the fallen glare at her as they pass. One woman spits a single word, murderer, before her husband pulls her away. Talia watches them go. She does not apologize. She does not defend herself. She simply waits, hands still behind her back, breathing in measured intervals. Colonel Mercer finally looks at her. He has been avoiding this moment for 2 hours, through the entire trial, but now there is nowhere left to hide. Their eyes meet across 10 feet of courtroom floor. They served together for 6 years. They ran training exercises in freezing rain, shared rations in bombed-out buildings, pulled each other out of firefights when ammunition ran low and extraction seemed impossible. He was the best man at her promotion ceremony. She was the first person he called when his daughter was born. Now he looks away first. Talia's lips press into a thin line. She takes 1 step toward him. You were there, Wade. Her voice is barely above a whisper, but it cuts through the ambient noise of shuffling feet and closing briefcases. You saw who gave the order to fire. Mercer's hand trembles as he stacks his papers. He does not respond, does not look up. Just keeps organizing files that do not need organizing, aligning corners that are already straight. Wade. I have nothing to say to you. His voice cracks on the last word. You signed the reports. Talia's statement is not an accusation. It is a fact, delivered with the same flat precision she might use to report ammunition counts or weather conditions. You deleted the access logs. You stood up there and told this court I acted alone. Mercer stands abruptly, chair scraping backward. He gathers his materials and walks toward the side exit without another word. His shoulders hunch forward as if carrying something heavy. Talia watches him go, and for the first time since the trial began, something flickers across her face. Not anger, not betrayal. Something closer to resignation or perhaps confirmation. Donovan stands and moves down the aisle toward her. At 6'3" and 230 pounds, he still cuts an imposing figure despite his age. His dress blues display 4 rows of ribbons, including a silver star and 2 purple hearts. When he reaches the defense table, he stops and studies Talia's face for a long moment. She meets his gaze without flinching. You planning to appeal, Commander? His voice is gravelly, shaped by decades of shouting orders over helicopter rotors and explosions. No, Master Chief. Why not? Talia glances toward the back of the room where Agent Hale stood minutes ago. The space is empty now, but her gaze lingers there for a beat too long. Because the truth has a way of coming out on its own. Donovan follows her line of sight, then looks back at her. Understanding dawns slowly across his weathered features. He opens his mouth to say something, then closes it. Nods once. Fair winds, Commander. Fair winds, Master Chief. He leaves. The courtroom empties further. Soon only Talia, a bailiff near the door, and Judge Beckett remain. Beckett descends from the bench, robes swishing around his ankles. He approaches the defense table where Talia still stands, and for a moment, they face each other in the harsh fluorescent light. Up close, Beckett's eyes are pale blue, almost colorless, like ice over deep water. You were a hero, Commander. He speaks softly, almost gently, which somehow makes the words more cruel. The first female SEAL to receive the Medal of Honor. Do you know how many young women joined the military because of you? How many little girls put your picture on their bedroom walls? He pauses, letting the knife sink deeper. Now you're just a cautionary tale, and in 10 years, no one will remember your name. If you believe justice still matters, hit that like button, because what you're about to witness will restore your faith in the system, or shatter it completely. Talia holds his gaze. When she finally speaks, her voice is steady and low. I wore the honor you gave me, and now I'll wear the shame. But time has a way of correcting mistakes, Your Honor, even yours. Beckett's jaw tightens. For a fraction of a second, something flashes behind his eyes, alarm perhaps, or recognition that he has just been issued a warning disguised as surrender. But then his expression smooths back into professional detachment. You're dismissed, Commander, or should I say, Miss Reeve. He turns and walks toward his chambers, each footstep precise and measured. Talia stands alone in the empty courtroom. The Medal of Honor still rests on the judge's bench, gold star gleaming under the lights. She stares at it for 10 seconds, 15, 20. Then she walks toward the main exit, spine straight, head high, every step controlled. As she pushes through the double doors into the hallway, camera flashes explode in her face. Reporters surge forward, shouting questions over each other. Commander Reeve, do you regret your actions? Will you appeal the verdict? What do you say to the families of the soldiers who died? Talia does not answer, does not even turn her head. She walks straight through the crowd, which parts reluctantly before her like water around a stone. Security personnel form a loose perimeter, pushing journalists back, but their efforts are half-hearted. Everyone wants the shot of the disgraced hero, the fallen angel, the woman who flew too close to the sun and got burned. She gives them nothing, no tears, no statements, no defensive gestures or hidden faces, just forward momentum and empty eyes. Outside, the afternoon sun hits her with unexpected force. She pauses at the top of the courthouse steps, blinking against the brightness. Virginia in late October carries a particular quality of light, golden and slanted, softening the edges of buildings and trees. Traffic flows past on the street below. Civilians go about their days, unaware that inside the building behind her, a woman's career and reputation just ended with the fall of a gavel. A dark sedan pulls up to the curb. The rear door opens. Talia descends the steps and climbs in without hesitation, as if she expected this. The door closes behind her. Through tinted windows, her silhouette is barely visible as the car merges into traffic and disappears. 2 years earlier, Eastern Europe, Operation Iron Dagger. The night is moonless, which makes it perfect for what they are about to do. Talia crouches in the shadow of a crumbling concrete wall, night vision goggles turning the world into shades of green and black. Her team spreads out in a loose perimeter around her. 8 operators, the best in naval special warfare, handpicked for this mission. They have been on the ground for 72 hours, moving through hostile territory with the precision of ghosts. No one knows they are here. No one is supposed to know. Their objective sits 300 meters to the east, a compound where intelligence indicates high-value targets are meeting to coordinate weapon shipments. The plan is simple. Get in, confirm identities, call for extraction, get out. No engagement unless absolutely necessary. Radio silence except for emergency protocols. Talia checks her watch. 2300 hours. Extraction window opens at 0200. Plenty of time. She signals to her team. They move forward in pairs, covering each other, weapons up, eyes scanning for threats. The compound approaches slowly, concrete walls rising from the darkness like broken teeth. They reach the perimeter without incident. Talia positions her team at 3 access points. She takes the northeast corner with Petty Officer Jackson, the youngest member of the squad at 24. Through her night vision, she can see him breathing through his mouth, keeping it slow and steady. Good. He is learning. She is about to signal the breach when her radio crackles to life. Not the encrypted channel her team uses. Something else. A different frequency, one she does not recognize. The voice that comes through is male, American accent, calm and professional. Iron Dagger elements, this is command. New target coordinates, stand by for upload. Talia freezes. Wrong. This is wrong. Command does not break radio silence. Command does not change targets mid-operation. She switches to her team channel and keys her mic twice, the signal for hold position. The voice continues. Target location is now grid 7489er 3215. You are weapons free. Repeat, weapons free. Execute immediately. Talia punches the coordinates into her GPS. Her blood goes cold. Those coordinates are not the compound. They are a staging area 400 meters south. A staging area where, according to their pre-mission briefing, a friendly unit is positioned. Americans, allies, brothers and sisters in arms. She keys her radio. Command, this is Iron Dagger Actual. Request authentication code. Silence. Then, authentication is not required. This is a time-sensitive target. Execute immediately. Talia's grip tightens on her weapon. Every instinct screams at her. Wrong frequency, wrong protocol, wrong everything. She switches back to her team channel. All elements hold position, do not advance. I say again, do not advance. Actual, what's going on? Jackson's voice is tight with confusion. Stand by. The unknown voice returns, sharper now, edged with irritation. Iron Dagger Actual, you are ordered to engage target at provided coordinates. Failure to comply constitutes insubordination. Talia pulls up the mission data on her wrist-mounted tablet, fingers flying across the screen. She accesses the server logs, checking the source of the transmission. It takes 15 seconds to trace. 15 seconds that feel like hours. And there it is. The signal is not coming from their forward operating base. It is coming from somewhere inside the United States. From a server in the Pentagon network. Her heart pounds against her ribs. Someone stateside is issuing orders. Someone with access to classified frequencies. Someone who wants her team to fire on American soldiers. Negative, command. I need proper authentication before engaging any target. Her voice is ice. Commander Reeve, this is a direct order. Then it can wait for proper verification. A pause. When the voice returns, it is colder. You are making a career-ending mistake. Copy that. Talia switches channels and tries to raise the friendly unit at the coordinates. Eagle 7, this is Iron Dagger Actual. Do you copy? Static. Eagle 7, respond. More static. She curses under her breath and signals her team. On me, moving to secondary objective. They abandon the compound and sprint south, staying low, weapons ready. 300 meters, 200, 100. They crest a small ridge, and Talia sees it. A convoy of 3 vehicles parked in a shallow depression, soldiers milling around them, maybe 20 in total. American uniforms, American equipment, exactly where they are supposed to be. And then the first mortar round hits. The explosion tears through the lead vehicle, flipping it onto its side in a burst of flame and shrapnel. Screams erupt, soldiers scatter, diving for cover. A second round hits, then a third. Talia is moving before conscious thought catches up, sliding down the ridge, her team close behind. They reach the convoy as a fourth explosion craters the ground 30 feet away, throwing dirt and rock in all directions. Jackson takes up position behind a vehicle, laying down suppressing fire toward the tree line where the mortars are originating. Talia reaches the first casualty, a kid, maybe 19, half his left arm gone. She rips open her medical kit and applies a tourniquet above the wound, twisting it tight while he screams. Someone else is pulling wounded soldiers behind cover. Someone else is calling for medevac. The night has dissolved into chaos and fire and blood. Talia works on autopilot, moving from casualty to casualty, stopping bleeding, stabilizing spines, marking priorities with chemical lights. Red for immediate, yellow for delayed, black for expectant. She marks 4 black lights that night, 4 soldiers she cannot save. 4 families who will receive folded flags and formal apologies. The mortar fire stops after 8 minutes. By then, 2 of the vehicles are burning wrecks and the ground is littered with shell casings and medical debris. Talia counts heads. 20 soldiers in the convoy, 17 still breathing, 16 able to walk. She coordinates with medevac and organizes the evacuation while her team provides security. It takes 90 minutes to get everyone out. When the last helicopter lifts off, Talia finally allows herself to collapse against a tree. Her hands are shaking. Her uniform is soaked with blood that is not hers. Jackson sits nearby, staring at nothing, smoke from the burning vehicles drifting across his expressionless face. She pulls out her tablet and checks the mission logs again. The orders came through a Pentagon server, encrypted, authenticated with a valid command key. Someone with high-level access issued those orders. Someone who wanted Americans to kill Americans, and when she refused, they called in the mortars anyway. Talia spends the next 6 hours documenting everything, every transmission, every timestamp, every access code. She copies the data to 3 separate encrypted drives and buries them in different locations. Marking the coordinates on a paper map she folds into her vest. Then she tries to file her report through official channels. By sunrise, every piece of digital evidence has been erased from the military network. The mission logs show only that Iron Dagger successfully completed its primary objective and provided humanitarian assistance to a unit under fire. No mention of the mysterious orders, no record of the Pentagon server access, nothing. Colonel Mercer finds her in the debriefing room 12 hours later. He sits down across from her, eyes red from lack of sleep, and slides a folder across the table. "They're calling you a hero, Talia. Medal of Honor, full ceremony, the works." Talia stares at the folder without opening it. "Who erased the logs, Wade?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do." Mercer's jaw works silently for a moment. Then he leans forward, voice dropping to barely a whisper. "Let it go. You saved 17 lives. Take the medal. Take the promotion. Let it go. 4 men died because someone gave an illegal order. 4 men died because of enemy action." "That's not what happened." Mercer stands. "It's what happened according to every official record, and if you want to keep your career, it's what you'll say happened too." He leaves without waiting for a response. 3 months later, Talia stands in the White House East Room while the president places the Medal of Honor around her neck. Cameras flash. A military band plays. Her parents weep with pride in the front row. She smiles for the photos and shakes hands with senators and generals and people who call her a hero. And every night she dreams of 4 black chemical lights glowing in the darkness. She was given the highest honor this nation can offer. But the truth was buried with those 4 soldiers. Drop a comment if you think she should have stayed silent, or if you believe some secrets demand to be exposed. Present day. The sedan carries Talia through Arlington past rows of white headstones stretching toward the horizon. She does not look out the window. Her eyes are closed, head tilted back against the seat. The driver, a young man in a dark suit and earpiece, maintains professional silence. They pull into an underground parking structure 20 minutes later. The driver stops next to a nondescript door and gets out to open Talia's door. She emerges into cool, concrete-scented air and follows him through the door, down a hallway lit by fluorescent strips, and into a small conference room. Agent Grant Hale sits at a table, laptop open, phone pressed to his ear. He glances up when Talia enters and raises one finger. "Give me a minute." Talia sits in the chair opposite him and waits. She is good at waiting. Hale finishes his call and closes the laptop. He is 42, with graying temples and the lean build of someone who runs every morning. His suit is off the rack but well maintained. No wedding ring, no personal photos on his phone case. The kind of man who has chosen his work over everything else. "How did it feel?" he asks. "How did what feel?" "Letting him win." Talia considers the question. "Like swallowing glass." Hale nods slowly. "Did Mercer take the bait?" "He thinks I'm finished. They both do." "Good." Hale opens his laptop again and turns it toward her. The screen displays a series of server logs, timestamps highlighted in yellow. "We traced the command sequence from Operation Iron Dagger. The authentication key belongs to Harold Beckett. He was Assistant Secretary of Defense at the time with full access to operational channels." Talia leans forward, scanning the data. "Why would he order a strike on our own people?" "Money." Hale pulls up another file. 3 weeks after Iron Dagger, the Pentagon awarded a $700 million contract for mortar systems to Vanguard Defense Industries. Beckett sat on the procurement committee. He also owns 18,000 shares of Vanguard stock through a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands. He staged an attack to justify a weapons contract. That's our working theory, but proving it requires evidence that until today, we couldn't access. Beckett scrubbed the servers clean, every transmission, every access log, gone. Hale pauses. Except he missed something. He wiped the main Pentagon servers, but he forgot about the backup system. Every classified transmission gets mirrored to an off-site location for disaster recovery purposes. That backup is physically isolated from the network. Can't be accessed remotely. Can't be deleted without leaving a record. Talia feels her pulse quicken. "You got into the backup." 2 hours ago." After 18 months of legal wrangling and a federal warrant signed by a judge who doesn't like corruption in the military, Hale taps the screen. It's all here. Command codes, timestamp, source server, Beckett's authentication key, everything we need to prosecute. And Mercer? Hale pulls up another file. Colonel Mercer signed the after-action reports. He also deleted your original testimony from the investigative database and replaced it with a sanitized version that omitted any mention of the mysterious orders. We have his digital signature on the deletion logs. He knew exactly what he was doing. Talia sits back in her chair. For 2 years, she has carried the weight of those 4 deaths. For 2 years, she has been called a liar, a glory hound, someone who manufactured a story to justify her own actions. And now, finally, proof, not suspicions, not theories. Proof. When do you move? She asks. Tomorrow. Federal marshals will execute the arrest warrant during Beckett's next court session. We want it public. Want everyone to see that no one is above the law. Hale closes the laptop. But I need you to understand something. This is going to get ugly. They'll come after you too. Try to discredit the investigation. Call it a vendetta. Drag up every mistake you've ever made. Let them try. Hale studies her face. Why didn't you fight back during the trial? You could have mentioned the investigation. Could have planted doubt in people's minds. Talia stands and walks to the window. Outside, rain has begun to fall, streaking the glass in irregular patterns. Because if I fought back, Beckett would have known something was wrong. He would have lawyered up, destroyed more evidence, called in favors, made himself untouchable. She turns to face Hale. I needed him to think he won. Needed him to relax, to get sloppy, and it worked. You sacrificed your reputation. Reputations can be rebuilt. The dead stay dead. Hale nods slowly. For what it's worth, I think you're the bravest person I've ever met. Save it for after the arrest. They shake hands. Talia leaves through the same door she entered, back into the concrete hallway, back into the parking garage. The rain is heavier now, drumming on the roof of the structure. She stands at the edge of the covered area and watches water cascade off the edges, forming curtains between her and the outside world. Her phone buzzes, a text from an unknown number. Package delivered. Execute. Talia deletes the message and pockets her phone. Tomorrow the walls will come down. Tomorrow, justice will finally arrive. But tonight, she stands in a parking garage and lets the sound of rain wash over her like absolution. She does not quite believe she deserves. The next morning, Talia returns to the same courtroom where, 24 hours earlier, she surrendered her Medal of Honor. She sits in the back row this time, no longer a defendant, but a witness. The gallery is less crowded today. A few reporters, a handful of lawyers waiting for other cases. Master Chief Donovan is there again, in the same seat as before, watching with those sharp eyes that miss nothing. Judge Beckett enters at exactly 9 o'clock. He settles into his chair, arranges his papers, and prepares to call the next case. But before he can speak, the rear doors of the courtroom open. 3 United States Marshals enter, moving with the kind of deliberate calm that precedes violence. The gallery goes silent. Beckett looks up, irritation crossing his face. This is a federal courtroom. You cannot simply... The lead marshal steps forward. His voice carries clearly. Judge Harold Beckett, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, and treason against the United States of America. Time seems to stop. The words hang in the air, impossible and huge. Beckett's face goes pale, then red, then pale again. What? This is outrageous. I am a federal judge. You cannot... You have the right to remain silent. The marshal continues reading rights, while his colleagues move to either side of Beckett's bench. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Beckett stands, knocking papers to the floor. This is nonsense. Who authorized this? Agent Hale enters through the same doors the marshals used. He holds up his credentials. Federal Bureau of Investigation. The warrant was signed by Judge Patricia Morrison of the Eastern District of Virginia. It's valid and legal. On what grounds? Beckett's voice cracks. Hale pulls out a tablet and approaches the bench. He turns the screen toward Beckett. We trace the encrypted command sequence from Operation Iron Dagger. The authentication key matches your Pentagon terminal from 2 years ago. You ordered a strike on American forces to justify a weapons contract. 4 soldiers died, 17 more were wounded. And you covered it up. The courtroom explodes into chaos. Reporters surge toward the front. A bailiff shouts for order. Beckett grabs the edge of the bench as if it might anchor him. You can't prove anything. Those servers were wiped? Yes. But you forgot about the backup system. Hale's voice is steady, almost gentle. Every transmission gets mirrored to an off-site location. We accessed it with a federal warrant. It's all there, Your Honor, every single communication. One of the marshals produces handcuffs. Beckett jerks back. I am a federal judge. You will not... Sir, we can do this easy or hard. The marshal's tone leaves no room for negotiation. Beckett's hands shake as they are pulled behind his back. The cuffs click into place, metal against bone. He looks around the courtroom, wild-eyed, searching for allies or escape routes. His gaze lands on Talia in the back row. Their eyes meet. For 3 seconds, neither moves. Then Talia stands. She walks slowly down the center aisle, each step measured and deliberate. The room parts around her, everyone stepping back, creating a corridor. She stops 10 feet from the bench. Beckett stares at her, understanding finally dawning across his features. You, he breathes. You did this. Talia's expression does not change. You called me a cautionary tale. Turns out you were right. Just not in the way you thought. You think you've won? You think this changes anything? Beckett's voice rises, edged with panic and fury. They'll tear you apart. Every mistake you've ever made. Let them try. Talia's voice is quiet, but cuts through his tirade like a blade. I'll wear that scrutiny the same way I wore your judgment, without fear. The marshals begin to lead Beckett toward the side exit. He struggles briefly, then seems to deflate, shoulders sagging under the weight of handcuffs and consequences. As he passes Talia, he speaks one more time, barely audible. I was protecting American interests. No, Talia says. You were protecting yourself. Beckett is escorted out. The side door closes behind him with a heavy thunk. The courtroom remains frozen, everyone trying to process what just happened. A federal judge arrested in his own court, a disgraced commander vindicated. The script flipped so thoroughly that no one knows what to do next, except Talia. She turns and walks back up the aisle. But before she reaches the exit, Colonel Wade Mercer enters through the main doors. He stops when he sees her. They stand facing each other across 20 feet of polished floor, the air between them thick with everything unsaid. Mercer speaks first. They're coming for me next, aren't they? Talia reaches into her jacket and pulls out a small USB drive. She holds it up so he can see. You signed the cover-up reports, Wade. You deleted my testimony. You stood in this courtroom yesterday and lied under oath. She tosses the drive. It arcs through the air and lands at his feet. I copied your access logs before you erased them. Mercer stares down at the drive as if it might explode. When he looks up, his eyes are wet. I thought I was protecting the Navy. No, you were protecting your career. Talia, You could have told the truth. At any point in the last 2 years, you could have come forward, but you chose yourself over them. She gestures vaguely, encompassing the courtroom, the building, the military, everything they once believed in together. Over us. Mercer's jaw works silently. Finally, he bends down and picks up the drive. He turns it over in his hands, then looks back at Talia. What happens now? Now you live with what you did, same as me. 2 FBI agents enter behind Mercer. They do not touch him yet, but the message is clear. He nods once, more to himself than anyone else, and allows them to guide him away. Talia watches him go. She feels nothing. Not satisfaction, not vindication, just a vast, empty weariness. Donovan appears at her elbow. You all right, Commander? I'm not a commander anymore, Master Chief. Respectfully, ma'am, you'll always be a commander to me. He pauses. They're going to reinstate you. Give you back everything Beckett took. Maybe. Talia starts walking toward the exit. Donovan falls into step beside her. Or maybe they'll find a quiet way to make me disappear. Either way, the truth is out. That's all that matters. They push through the doors into autumn sunlight. The courthouse steps are swarming with reporters now, cameras and microphones forming a gauntlet. Questions explode from all sides. Commander Reeve, how does it feel to be vindicated? Did you plan this from the beginning? What do you say to those who still doubt your story? Talia stops at the top of the steps. She looks out over the crowd, at the cameras broadcasting her face to millions of screens. at the journalists hungry for a soundbite that will define this moment. She thinks about the 4 soldiers who died, about the 17 who lived, about 2 years of silence and shame and nights spent staring at ceilings. Then she speaks. Her voice is steady and clear. Justice isn't loud, it's patient, and it doesn't forget. She descends the steps and disappears into the crowd. 3 hours after Judge Beckett's arrest, Talia sits in the same FBI conference room where she met with Agent Hale the day before. But this time, the room is crowded. 2 additional agents occupy chairs along the wall, laptops open, fingers flying across keyboards. A stenographer sits in the corner, recording every word. Hale stands at the head of the table, a projected image on the wall behind him showing a timeline of events stretching back 2 years. "Walk us through your decision-making process," Hale says. His tone is professional, devoid of judgment. "From the moment you realized the logs were erased to the moment you walked into that courtroom yesterday." Talia takes a slow breath. This is the part she has been preparing for, the explanation she owes not just to the FBI, but to herself. "When I tried to file my initial report about Iron Dagger, the data disappeared within hours. Every transmission, every access log, gone. That told me 2 things. First, whoever ordered that strike had high-level access. Second, they were actively monitoring me." "So you stopped trying to report through official channels," one of the wall agents says. "I stopped making noise, but I didn't stop collecting evidence." Talia pulls a folded paper map from her jacket and spreads it on the table. 3 sets of coordinates are marked in pencil. "I copied the original logs to encrypted drives before they could be wiped. Buried them at these locations. Then I waited." Hale leans forward. "Waited for what?" "For them to feel safe. For the investigation to close. For everyone to accept the official story." Talia traces a finger along the timeline on the wall. "Beckett and Mercer thought they had won. They thought I had no proof, no credibility, no recourse. That confidence made them sloppy. Mercer kept using his Pentagon login for personal email. Beckett continued trading on insider information from defense contracts. They left trails because they believed no one was watching." The stenographer's fingers pause for a moment, then resume their rapid tapping. Talia continues. "If I had fought back immediately, they would have destroyed everything, locked down every system, called in favors from people more powerful than me. I would have been labeled a disgruntled officer making wild accusations, discredited before I could build a case." "So you let them destroy you first," Hale says quietly. "I let them think they destroyed me. There's a difference." Talia meets his gaze. "Silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. I wore their contempt like armor. Every insult, every false accusation, every moment of public humiliation just convinced them I was beaten. Meanwhile, I was documenting everything, recording conversations, copying files, building a case that would hold up in federal court." One of the agents along the wall speaks up. "But you took an enormous risk. What if we hadn't been able to access the backup servers? What if the evidence wasn't sufficient?" "Then I would have stayed silent for the rest of my life." Talia's voice is steady. 4 soldiers died because of illegal orders. 17 more barely survived. If exposing the truth meant sacrificing my career and reputation, that was a price worth paying. And if I failed, at least I tried." Hale crosses his arms. "During the trial, there were multiple moments when you could have mentioned the ongoing investigation, could have planted doubt. Why didn't you?" "Because doubt wasn't enough. Beckett is a federal judge. Mercer is a decorated officer. Doubt would have led to internal reviews, administrative hearings, investigations that could be controlled and contained. I needed them to be so confident that they would slip up in ways that couldn't be explained away." She pauses. "I needed them to bury themselves." The room falls silent except for the soft clicking of keyboards. The stenographer catches up and waits, hands poised. Hale walks to the window and stares out at the gray afternoon sky. Rain streaks the glass again, persistent and cold. "Your testimony here is going to be crucial," he finally says. "Beckett's lawyers will argue entrapment, coercion, vindictive prosecution. They'll say you manipulated the system to exact revenge. Let them argue." Talia stands and joins him at the window. "The evidence speaks for itself. Server logs, authentication codes, financial records. Mercer's signed confession to deleting my original testimony. It's not revenge, it's accountability." Hale turns to face her. "Why didn't you come to us sooner? The FBI has a whistleblower protection program. We could have what? Opened an investigation that would have been shut down by people with more stars on their shoulders than sense? I tried going through channels. The data vanished. My commanding officer told me to accept the medal and move on. My closest friend became a witness against me. Talia's voice remains level, but something hardens in her eyes. The system failed, so I had to work outside it long enough to make the system functional again. Another agent speaks from the back of the room. For the record, can you state clearly whether you had any contact with Agent Hale or any other FBI personnel prior to your court-martial? No. I transmitted the encrypted evidence to an anonymous FBI tip line 48 hours before my trial. I included documentation of everything: the Iron Dagger incident, the deleted logs, Mercer's involvement, Beckett's stock holdings in Vanguard Defense. I did not know if anyone would investigate. I did not know if the evidence would be sufficient. I simply provided what I had and hoped someone would care enough to look. And you went into that courtroom knowing you might lose everything. I went into that courtroom knowing I had already lost everything that mattered: my integrity, my trust in the chain of command, my faith that doing the right thing would be rewarded. Talia returns to her seat. Getting my reputation back was never the priority. Making sure those 4 soldiers didn't die for nothing, that was the priority. Hale nods slowly and signals to the stenographer. Let's take a 15-minute break. The other agents file out. The stenographer follows, closing the door behind her. Hale sits down across from Talia, his professional mask slipping slightly. Off the record? Off the record. You're one of the bravest people I've ever met, also one of the most reckless. He shakes his head. You gambled everything on a system that had already betrayed you. What if we hadn't found the backup servers? What if Beckett had been careful enough not to leave traces? Talia considers the question. Then I would have been exactly where I ended up anyway. Dishonored, dismissed, forgotten. At least this way I tried. Strength isn't noise, Agent Hale. It's discipline when no one is clapping. It's doing what's right even when the cost is unbearable. Hale leans back in his chair. The Department of Defense is going to offer you full reinstatement. Probably a promotion. Definitely an apology. I don't want their apology. What do you want? Talia is quiet for a long moment. Rain continues its assault on the window. Somewhere in the building, a phone rings and goes unanswered. I want to make sure this never happens again. I want systems in place so the next person who sees something wrong doesn't have to sacrifice everything to expose it. I want accountability to mean something. That's a tall order. I've gotten used to tall orders. The consequences unfold like dominoes falling in slow motion, each impact triggering the next, building momentum toward an inevitable conclusion. Within 24 hours of Beckett's arrest, the Department of Defense announces a formal review of all cases he presided over during his time as a military judge. 47 verdicts, 11 courts-martial, 3 death penalty cases. Every single one will be re-examined for potential corruption or judicial misconduct. The legal implications are staggering. Appeals flood the system. Defense attorneys who lost cases before Beckett file emergency motions. The military justice system, already overburdened, buckles under the weight. Colonel Wade Mercer is arrested at his home on the 3rd day. The FBI executes the warrant at 5:30 in the morning before dawn breaks over his suburban neighborhood in Norfolk. His wife watches from the doorway as agents lead him to an unmarked sedan, still wearing the t-shirt and sweatpants he slept in. Neighbors peek through curtains. Someone films it on their phone and posts it online within the hour. By noon, the video has been viewed 3 million times. The charges against Mercer are extensive: obstruction of justice, conspiracy to commit fraud, falsifying official documents, perjury. Each count carries its own potential sentence, but together they paint a picture of systematic corruption stretching back years. Investigators discover that Mercer didn't just cover up the Iron Dagger incident. He accepted money from defense contractors in exchange for influencing equipment recommendations. He diverted funds meant for troop welfare. He submitted false reports to inflate readiness statistics. The man Talia once trusted with her life had been selling out his uniform for years. The financial trail leads investigators to Vanguard Defense Industries and from there to 8 other defense contractors who operated under similar arrangements. Federal prosecutors convene a grand jury. Subpoenas go out to dozens of current and former Pentagon officials. The investigation expands beyond Iron Dagger to encompass a web of corruption involving weapons contracts, manipulated testing results, and deliberate equipment failures that endangered soldiers in combat zones. On the fourth day, the Secretary of Defense holds a press conference. He stands at a podium bearing the department seal, flanked by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and reads a prepared statement. The actions of Judge Harold Beckett and Colonel Wade Mercer represent a betrayal of everything our military stands for. They will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But we must also acknowledge our institutional failure. Warning signs were missed, reports were ignored. A decorated commander was punished for telling the truth. He pauses, visibly struggling. Commander Talia Reeve showed extraordinary courage, not only in combat but in her pursuit of justice. On behalf of the United States Department of Defense, I offer her our deepest apology and our commitment to ensuring this never happens again. She stayed silent while they destroyed her reputation. She let them think they had won, and when they finally got comfortable, she brought the whole system crashing down. If you believe in justice that doesn't quit, share this story and let everyone know what real courage looks like. Talia watches the press conference from her apartment, a modest one-bedroom unit she rented after being dismissed from service. The furniture is minimal, no photographs on the walls, no memorabilia from her years in the Navy, just clean lines and empty spaces, as if she has been living in temporary quarters waiting for a deployment that never came. The secretary's apology means nothing to her. Words from men in suits, delivered for cameras, designed to manage public relations rather than acknowledge genuine wrongdoing. But the policy changes he announces next, those matter. Mandatory reviews of all judicial decisions involving command influence, an independent oversight board for corruption investigations, protections for whistleblowers that cannot be overridden by commanding officers, a dedicated hotline for reporting misconduct routed directly to the Inspector General's office. Will it be enough? Probably not. Systems change slowly, and bureaucracies resist accountability with impressive determination. But it's a start, a crack in the wall, proof that exposure leads to evolution, even when that evolution is grudging and incomplete. Her phone rings. The caller ID shows a Pentagon number. She lets it go to voicemail. It rings again, 30 seconds later. Same number. She ignores it. On the fourth call, she finally answers. Commander Reeve? The voice on the other end belongs to Admiral Patricia Vance, the highest-ranking woman in naval special warfare. I've been trying to reach you. I'm no longer a commander, ma'am. That's why I'm calling. The Secretary has authorized your immediate reinstatement with full honors, all charges vacated. Your service record will be amended to reflect your Medal of Honor status. You'll receive back pay for the time you were out of service, plus compensation for damages to your reputation. Talia walks to her window and looks out at the street below. Evening traffic crawls past, people heading home from work, oblivious to military scandals and federal investigations, normal lives proceeding normally. What about my security clearance? Fully restored. You're also being offered a promotion to captain and a position at the Pentagon overseeing the new ethics oversight program. I'll need time to consider. There's a pause on the other end. Commander, you were vindicated. You won. This is your opportunity to help shape real change. I'm aware of what it is, Admiral. I'm also aware that 2 weeks ago, this same institution found me guilty and stripped me of my honor. Forgive me if I need more than a phone call to forget that. Another pause, longer this time. When Vance speaks again, her tone is softer. I read the full report of what happened during Iron Dagger, what you did, what you endured afterward. You have every right to be angry. I'm not angry, ma'am. I'm tired, and I need to decide whether I still believe in the uniform enough to put it back on. Fair enough. You have 72 hours to respond to the reinstatement offer. After that, it expires, and you'll be processed out permanently. Think carefully, Commander. You earned that medal. You earned the right to serve with it. The call ends. Talia sets her phone on the windowsill and stares at her reflection in the darkening glass. The face looking back is leaner than it was 2 years ago. Harder around the edges, marked by sleepless nights and battles fought alone. She barely recognizes herself. A week passes. The news cycle moves on, as news cycles always do, replacing military scandals with political controversies and celebrity gossip. But the consequences continue to unfold in quieter, more permanent ways. Judge Beckett is denied bail after prosecutors argue he poses a flight risk. His assets are frozen pending investigation. His wife files for divorce. His son, a Marine captain stationed in Okinawa, releases a statement condemning his father's actions and requesting a transfer to avoid media attention. Beckett sits in a federal holding facility, facing charges that carry a potential sentence of 40 years. His attorneys file motion after motion, seeking dismissals, requesting delays, arguing procedural violations. All are denied. Colonel Mercer fares slightly better in the court of public opinion, though not by much. His attorney negotiates a plea agreement. In exchange for cooperation and testimony against other conspirators, Mercer receives a reduced sentence of 12 years. He is stripped of his rank, his pension, and his security clearance. The Marine Corps announces it will seek repayment of all salaries and bonuses he received during the period he engaged in criminal conduct, a sum totaling over $200,000. During his sentencing hearing, Mercer makes a brief statement. His voice is hoarse, his face haggard. "I convinced myself I was protecting the institution I loved, but I was only protecting my own ambitions. I betrayed my oath, I betrayed my brothers and sisters in arms, and I betrayed a woman who trusted me with her life." He looks directly at where Talia sits in the gallery. "Commander Reeve, I have no right to ask for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I will spend the rest of my life trying to atone for what I did. And I will make sure everyone knows the truth about what happened that night." Talia's expression does not change. She does not nod, does not acknowledge the apology, just watches as marshals lead Mercer away in shackles. Outside the courthouse afterward, reporters swarm her again. The questions come rapid fire, overlapping, competing for her attention. "Commander Reeve, how does it feel to see Colonel Mercer sentenced? Do you accept his apology? Will you return to active duty?" Talia stops halfway down the steps and turns to face the cameras. The crowd goes silent, anticipating a statement. She looks into the lenses, aware that whatever she says will be dissected and analyzed and quoted for weeks to come. So she chooses her words carefully. Justice isn't about revenge. It's about accountability. Colonel Mercer will serve his sentence. Judge Beckett will stand trial. The system that allowed this to happen is being reformed. That's what matters. Not my feelings, not personal vindication. Just the knowledge that the next person who sees corruption won't have to sacrifice everything to expose it. She pauses. "I wore their contempt like armor because I knew the truth would outlast their lies. And it did." She descends the remaining steps and gets into a waiting car. As it pulls away, she catches a glimpse of Master Chief Donovan standing at the edge of the crowd. He raises his hand in a slow, deliberate salute. She returns it through the window, the gesture small but significant. 2 days before her deadline to accept reinstatement, Talia drives to Arlington National Cemetery. She parks near the Visitors Center and walks through the gates, passing row after row of white headstones stretching toward the horizon. Each stone marks a sacrifice. Each name represents a story. Some died in combat, some died of wounds received in service. All of them answered when called and paid the ultimate price. She finds the section she is looking for and stops in front of 4 graves in a cluster. The headstones are newer than their neighbors, the grass still settling around the edges. These are the 4 soldiers who died during the mortar attack on that night 2 years ago. The 4 lives Beckett sacrificed to justify a weapons contract. Sergeant Michael Torres, 23 years old, died March 7th. Corporal Jennifer Lim, 26 years old, died March 7th. Specialist David Okonkwo, 22 years old, died March 7th. Private First Class Sarah Chen, 19 years old, died March 7th. Talia kneels in front of the graves and places her hand on Torres's headstone. The marble is cold under her palm. "I got them," she whispers. "I got the people who did this to you. Beckett is in custody. Mercer is going to prison. The others are being investigated. Justice came slow, but it came." The wind picks up, rustling through nearby trees. Leaves skitter across the grass, scraping softly against stone. Talia stays kneeling, hand still pressed to the marker, and lets herself feel everything she has suppressed for 2 years. The grief, the rage, the unbearable weight of survivor's guilt. Tears run down her face unchecked. She does not wipe them away, does not try to maintain the stoic mask she has worn for so long. Here, surrounded by the honored dead, she finally allows herself to break. After 10 minutes, she composes herself and stands. She salutes each grave in turn, holding the position for 5 seconds. Then she walks back to her car and drives to the Pentagon. Admiral Vance's office is located on the 4th floor, E-Ring, overlooking the Potomac River. Her assistant leads Talia through a maze of corridors and security checkpoints. Officers and civilians move past in both directions, some in uniform, others in business attire, all contributing to the vast machinery of military administration. Vance rises when Talia enters. She is 56, with close-cropped gray hair and the lean physique of someone who still runs 3 miles every morning. Her uniform displays 4 rows of ribbons, including a Navy cross. She gestures to a chair. "Thank you for coming, Commander. I haven't decided whether I'm still a commander, ma'am." "Fair. Would you like coffee?" "No, thank you." They sit on opposite sides of a desk covered with organized stacks of documents. A photograph on one corner shows Vance in desert camouflage, standing with her arm around another woman in civilian clothes. Personal life preserved in a single frame, visible but separate from professional identity. "I'm not going to pressure you," Vance says. "You've earned the right to make your own choice without interference, but I want you to understand what we're offering. This isn't just reinstatement, it's a chance to build something meaningful. The oversight program needs someone who understands how corruption takes root, someone who won't be intimidated by rank or influenced by politics. That's you." Talia looks out the window at the river beyond. Sunlight glints off the water, turning it silver. "What if I don't trust the system anymore?" "Then you're exactly the right person for the job. We don't need true believers right now. We need skeptics. People who will ask hard questions and refuse easy answers." Vance leans forward. "You exposed corruption at enormous personal cost. You proved the system can self-correct when someone has the courage to force it. Now help us make sure it doesn't take that level of sacrifice next time. And if I say no, then you walk away with full benefits, an honorable discharge, and the Medal of Honor around your neck. No one will blame you. No one will question your patriotism or dedication. You've already given more than most people give in a lifetime." Talia stands and walks to the window. Below, people move across parking lots and between buildings, each pursuing their own missions and priorities. The machinery of defense continues, indifferent to individual dramas. "I'll need guarantees, real ones, not political promises that evaporate when leadership changes." "Name them." "Direct reporting authority to the Secretary of Defense, budget control for my office, the power to investigate anyone, regardless of rank, no interference from the Inspector General or Internal Affairs unless they have documented evidence of wrongdoing on my part. And most importantly, protection for whistleblowers that cannot be waived or overridden." Vance pulls out a folder and slides it across the desk. "Already drafted. The Secretary signed off this morning. Everything you just asked for is in writing." Talia opens the folder and scans the documents. Legal language fills the pages, but the substance matches what Vance described. Real authority, real independence, real protections. She closes the folder and meets Vance's gaze. "When do I start?" "Monday, if you're ready." "I'm ready." They shake hands. As Talia turns to leave, Vance speaks one more time. "Commander, for what it's worth, I'm glad you're staying. The Navy needs officers who care more about doing what's right than advancing their careers." Talia pauses at the door. "The Navy needs a lot of things, Admiral, but mostly it needs people who remember that the uniform represents an idea, and ideas are worth fighting for even when the fight costs everything." 1 week later, Talia stands in a small ceremony room at the Pentagon. The Medal of Honor has been returned to her, now hanging from a new ribbon. The old one, tainted by Beckett's corruption, was retired. This new presentation feels different somehow, quieter, less performative. Admiral Vance places it around her neck while a photographer captures the moment for official records. "Welcome back, Commander," Vance says. "Thank you, ma'am." There is no crowd, no press, no politicians giving speeches about valor and sacrifice, just a handful of witnesses, a brief citation read aloud, and the weight of the medal settling against Talia's chest once more. It feels heavier than she remembers. Or perhaps she is simply more aware of its weight. Afterward, she returns to her new office, a modest space on the 3rd floor with a desk, filing cabinets, and a window overlooking an interior courtyard. The walls are bare, no plaques or certificates or photographs. Not yet. Those will come with time, assuming she stays long enough to accumulate them. She sits at her desk and opens her laptop. 27 emails wait in her inbox, mostly administrative notices and security briefings. She works through them methodically, deleting some, filing others, responding where appropriate. Routine work, the kind of task that occupies hands while the mind processes larger questions. Her desk phone rings. The caller ID shows an unfamiliar number. She answers. Commander Reeve. The voice is male, middle-aged, unfamiliar. Speaking. My name is Lieutenant Colonel James Hartley. I'm stationed at Fort Bragg. I have information about procurement fraud involving night vision equipment that's failing in the field and getting soldiers hurt. I've tried reporting through my chain of command, but my reports keep disappearing. I heard what you did. I thought maybe you could help. Talia picks up a pen and pulls a notepad closer. Tell me everything. The call lasts 40 minutes. Hartley describes systematic fraud involving a contractor who submitted falsified testing results for night vision goggles. The goggles pass inspections but fail under combat conditions, leaving soldiers blind at critical moments. 3 injuries so far. Commanders are aware but reluctant to act because the contractor has connections to a powerful senator. Hartley has documentation, test results, injury reports, emails showing knowledge of the defects, everything needed to build a case. When he finishes, Talia is already drafting an action plan. I'll need copies of everything you have, encrypted and sent to a secure drop. Do not use military networks. Do not tell anyone else about this conversation. If your chain of command is compromised, we need to assume they're monitoring your communications. Understood. When can we meet? I'll send instructions within 24 hours. In the meantime, act normally. Don't change your routine. Don't start asking new questions. Just continue as if nothing has changed. Commander, thank you. I wasn't sure anyone would listen. I'm listening, Colonel, and I promise you, this won't be ignored. She ends the call and sits back in her chair. Already it's starting. The first case. The first test of whether the new system will work better than the old one. She thinks about Beckett and Mercer, about the years of corruption they got away with, about the culture that enabled them. Change is slow. But someone has to push, even when the resistance feels immovable. Her email notification chimes, a new message from an anonymous sender. No subject line, just a single sentence in the body. Tower 4 sends regards. Talia stares at the message. Tower 4. An old code phrase from her SEAL days, used by an intelligence contact she worked with during Iron Dagger. Someone with access to classified networks and a talent for finding information others wanted hidden. Someone she hasn't heard from in 2 years. She replies with a single word. Acknowledged. The response comes 30 seconds later. 11 names, DoD officials, Vanguard investigation, files attached, encrypted. Talia downloads the attachments and opens them on her secure terminal. Personnel files, financial records, communication logs, everything organized and annotated, a roadmap for prosecution. 11 people ranging from mid-level bureaucrats to senior officers, all connected to the same web of corruption that ensnared Beckett and Mercer. She leans back and allows herself the smallest smile. The work is just beginning. The fight will take years. But for the first time in a long time, she feels something she hasn't felt since before Iron Dagger. Hope. Her office window overlooks the courtyard where a dozen junior officers are conducting a change of command ceremony. Flags wave in the autumn breeze. Words are spoken about duty and honor and service. The young officer receiving command salutes sharply, face serious with the weight of new responsibility. Somewhere in the building, other officers are making decisions that will shape missions and lives. Somewhere beyond these walls, soldiers are training, deploying, fighting, bleeding, dying. The work continues. It always does. Talia turns back to her computer and begins drafting her report on the night vision fraud case. Outside, the ceremony ends. Officers disperse to their next assignments, and in a small office on the 3rd floor, a woman who refused to stay silent starts the work of making sure others won't have to make the same sacrifice she did. Justice isn't loud, it's patient, and it doesn't forget.
Every soldier carries a story that few ever hear. Listen with your heart. Thank you for staying and watching. Subscribe to MVB Story for more.